Hey, what's going on everyone? Dallas again with Chaos Fragrances. Today we're back with another video. This time we're going to be checking out my top 10 best niche fragrances that I own in my collection. So I just did a video on my 10 best designer fragrances on my channel about a week ago. So if you missed that one, go check that one out if you're into designer scents. But this time we're focusing all on the niche fragrances. So just to reiterate here, these are not the best niche fragrances of all time. It's definitely not close to that, but it is what I would consider to be the best ones that I personally own in my collection. So again, this is one of those things where it comes down to personal preference and it comes down to what I personally own. If there are fragrances in here that are your favorite that you don't see in the list, don't get offended that they're not in there. It's probably just because I don't like them or I don't own them. That is what is so great about this hobby, is the fact that I can like stuff that you may hate and vice versa. So with all that out of the way, let's go and jump right into this. And these are not going to be in any particular order. These are just the 10 best ones that I personally have. And I should also mention really quickly that you can find a good amount of these on my website, chaosfragrances.com. If you're in the market for any designer or niche fragrances, definitely go check out the website. Up first, we have Mancera Cedrat Boise. So this is one that's really overlooked quite often when it comes to my collection. I have a handful of Manceras, and this one kind of sits back behind them. It really just blends in with all the other ones, and it's one that I really forget that I have. But this one also really holds a good place in my heart because this is actually the first niche fragrances that I ever purchased. A lot of the reason why this one ended up being my first niche fragrance purchase is because the comparisons to Aventus. I'm going to be honest with you, at that time when I first bought this, I was still relatively new to collecting and I didn't really have a whole lot of money to spend on fragrances, designer fragrances at that matter, much less, more expensive niche fragrances. At that time, I definitely couldn't afford Aventus. This is really what got me into niche fragrances, and to be honest with you, really is nothing like Aventus at all. I did blind buy this one. At the time, I hadn't smelled Aventus either. So really, I was just going off of reviews and things like that, people saying it was similar, and that was enough for me, so I ended up picking it up. Again, I found out later on that it really doesn't smell like Aventus at all, but I'm still happy with the scent. On its own, this is a great fragrance. Where it tends to get hate is when people try to compare it to Aventus when it's really not that comparable to Aventus at all. That's when people say that it's not a good fragrance or that it sucks or whatever. But if you drop the Aventus comparison, just completely put that out of the picture, act like it's not even there, and you just appreciate this fragrance for what it is, it's actually a fantastic scent. Really, really versatile, really great performance, easy to wear all year round. Again, one that's really holds a special spot in my collection. This is what got me into the niche collecting game, and it's still a great scent, and it's one that I'm trying to wear more often because I truly do think it smells great. Up next, I have a Mason Francis Kirkjohn scent, and that one is Petit Matin. So this one I've been talking about a little bit here lately, mainly because of the weather. Here where I live, it's been about 90 degrees Fahrenheit with very high humidity, 80-90% humidity. So it's been really hot. And in that type of weather, you can't really wear that many fragrances because they will tend to sweeten up quite a bit and behave differently on your skin in that type of heat. There aren't many fragrances that work well in that, but Petit Matin, this one does great in the really hot weather. So if you are someone who lives in a place where it's really hot right now, this is a great citrus fragrance to check out for that time. Again, very, very pleasant smelling. One of my favorites from MFK, and in my opinion, it's one of the best I have in my collection. I love this stuff. I can't get enough of it, and I can really only wear it in the summertime because it's a citrus fragrance mainly for spring and summer. So now that we are in the appropriate weather for this scent, I've been wearing it a lot. So that is MFK Petit Matin. We're going with an Initio up next, and this one is called Initio Absolute Aphrodisiac. So this is a very nice vanilla smelling fragrance. Now that's the main note in here is vanilla. I actually did a review on this one a while back when I just had a sample of it. I ended up liking that sample so much that I ended up picking up myself a bottle. And that's something that I really don't do that often. I really have to like a scent after smelling it from a sample to end up picking it up because most of my purchases are blind buys. And when I do get samples in, a lot of times I don't really find something that I like all that much, believe it or not. But an Absolute Aphrodisiac was one that when I smelled that sample, I loved it. And I ended up getting this bottle, which I'm really glad I did. So obviously if you look at the notes, and like I just mentioned earlier, a vanilla fragrance, we're not in the season to be wearing this one. You can still wear it, in evenings and stuff like that, or a good date fragrance in the summertime, but in terms of wearing it out and about like in the day, definitely not one that you would want to do, again, at least not in the heat that I'm experiencing right now. It's way too hot to be wearing a sweet fragrance like this. but I still believe it's one of the best that I own in my collection. I love the smell, and it's going to be up there pretty high in my rotation for fall and winter. Up next, we're going to go with Dior Feb Dior. So a lot of you probably aren't going to consider this one a niche fragrance, and to be honest with you, I'm pretty much split right down the middle. It's designer in the fact that it's a Christian Dior fragrance, and they are a very popular designer brand, but it's niche in the fact that it's very expensive. I mean, this bottle, which is, I believe, a 125 ml bottle, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember exactly what it costed me, but it was over $200. I think it was $250 or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can look it up if you're interested in doing so. But what I'm trying to say here is it wasn't cheap. You can't find this one on discounters, so really your only best option is to buy it directly from Dior's website, so you're going to be paying full price. So I'm choosing to include this one as a niche fragrance for this particular video and for this list. If that's something that upsets you, then that's perfectly fine. That's just kind of what I'm doing here. So Feb Dior, this is another one that when I got a sample of it, I actually really enjoyed it. I would watch the reviews and, read the reviews of people saying that this smells like baby powder and that smells just too feminine and so on and so forth. So for the longest time, I was very hesitant. Once I ended up getting that sample, however, I fell in love with it. I went through that sample pretty quickly, and it was during winter time too, which was perfect. And finally, I was able to pick up a bottle. So this is one of those scents where you definitely do not want to blind buy it. Get a sample of it first, because this is definitely not going to be for everyone. It's a unisex fragrance. A lot of guys out there probably are not going to like this one because it is kind of leaning in that feminine direction. But again, it's one of those scents where I love it so much. It's got this nice tonka bean powdery vibe to it. Just smells perfect for a date or an evening in the winter time, and I just like the scent. Up next, we're going with a Creed. It's going to be the only one on this list, and that is, of course, Aventus. So this is another one where I actually got a sample of it first, believe it or not. It was one of the carded samples from Creed. I ended up trying it out, and I ended up falling in love with it. I'll never forget spraying the sample on like a piece of paper and just kind of having it sit on the table by an open window, and all day that wind was blowing in, is blowing the smell of it over to me, and just smelling the sillage of that fragrance just off that piece of paper alone, it smelled incredible. And again, I knew I had to have it at some point. I ended up picking up a bottle, and this was actually the first bottle that I purchased, batch 17N01 for any of you who care about batches. And now I'm up to like 5 bottles or so of Aventus. So, I mean, it's one that I really enjoy a lot in my collection. It's one that I wear all the time, especially here now in the summertime. One of my favorite summer fragrances. I believe this is when the scent works best, but it really can be used any time of the year. Up next, we have Le Labo Bergamot 22. So this is a bergamot fragrance, obviously by the name, and it really just does that note perfectly. It's got bergamot and it's got some vetiver in there as well. In the summer heat, this stuff just pops off my skin and just smells incredible. Really one of my favorites for the summertime, and this is one that my girlfriend is really a big fan of as well. A lot of people are going to say this is one of the best citrus fragrances out there, and I would have to say it's really up there pretty far. It's up there with a lot of the other ones like Xerjoff Neo. That's one that a lot of people say is one of the best. This one really gives that one a run for its money. It is on the more expensive side, but in my opinion, if you can get your hands on it and get a sample of it first, definitely worth checking it out. You can get decants, like you can get yourself a 30 ml decant or a 50 ml decant for really good prices. It's going to be a lot cheaper than buying a bottle. Whichever way you can get your hands on the fragrance itself is all that really matters. This stuff is, in my opinion, a must-have for summertime, and this is one of the best in my collection. I can't get enough of this stuff. That is Le Labo Bergamot 22. Up next, we're going with Rochelle Parfums Elysium. So this is another one that I talk about quite often. This has really quickly became one of my favorite fragrances. Well, I guess not really quickly. I've been wearing this one for quite a few months now. Actually, since last summer. That's when I got my first bottle, I believe. So I guess it's been a little bit longer than a few months. I've been wearing this for over a year now. But still, this stuff has really, really impressed me a lot. This is one where every time I smell it, it just puts me in a great mood. And it's one where every time I spray it on and I wear it, it just increases my confidence just like that. I know I smell amazing, and it's just one that I enjoy so much. If I had to pick maybe like 3 fragrances to keep in my collection for life, this would be in there for sure. 100% this would be in there. That's how much I like the scent. For me personally, this one works so well on my skin, and it's one that I'm always going to be wearing and easily one of the best in my collection. Up next, we have Amouage Reflection Man. So this is another one where I got a sample of it quite a while back, kind of when I was first getting into collecting, and at first I wasn't really too sure what to think of it, but as time went on I kept going back to the sample, smelling it, and I really started to appreciate it and fall in love with it. And not too long ago I ended up picking up a bottle of it, and I've been wearing it ever since. It's a really good one for spring and summer. Really nice soapy floral scent for men, very clean and fresh smelling. And every time I smell it, it's one where I'm like, wow, why don't I wear this more, because it just smells incredible. It's one of the best that I have for sure, and once I end up running through what's left of this bottle, I'll definitely be picking up another one. I'm going to go with another MFK. This one is Baccarat Rouge 540. This is probably the most luxurious fragrance I own, or luxurious smelling fragrance that I own. Every time I wear this one and every time I smell this one, I just feel like $1,000,000. Not only because the price of it is very expensive. I mean, I believe this 200 ml bottle retails for like over $500 or something crazy like that. So it's up there in price. But not only that, it's just the smell itself. It just smells very luxurious. It smells like money. It smells like, you know, some guy who knows what he's doing, a very successful person. And that's what I like so much about it. Easily a 10 out of 10 fragrance for me, and it's one that I think is one of the best that I have. And finally, to end this video, we have Karner Barcelona Elborn. So this is another vanilla scent, kind of similar in the same category as Initio Absolute Aphrodisiac, but this one goes in more of a boozy and syrupy direction. I actually prefer this one over Absolute Aphrodisiac. This was actually one, again, that I got a sample of, believe it or not, and when I smelled it, it blew me away. Even to this day, when I smell this one, it really makes me happy, and it really makes me appreciate fragrances as an art form, especially this one here, because this is one that I just love. I don't normally wear fragrances to bed. You'll see people post in like the Facebook group saying I'm wearing this to bed or whatever they're doing there. I don't normally do that. If I take a shower and get in bed, I'm not spraying anything else on. The only time I would wear a fragrance to bed is if it's already sprayed on from earlier that day and I go to bed with it. But I will say that I have actually worn this one to bed one time, and it was a really good bedtime fragrance, whatever that means. Karner Barcelona Elborn, one of my absolute favorites, and in my opinion, one of the best in my collection. So guys, that was it. That was my 10 best niche fragrances that I own in my collection. And again, you can find a number of these fragrances on my website, chaosfragrances.com. Very competitive prices, very fast shipping. If you're in the market to be picking up some bottles here, definitely go check it out. And one final thing I want to mention here, I'm just kind of getting all this out of the way at the end. My girlfriend and I have actually created a second channel. That channel is going to be linked below in the description. It really means a lot to me if you go subscribe to it. What we're going to be doing there, we're not entirely sure yet. We're going to be doing some product reviews and stuff like that, maybe a few vlogs. We're just going to be doing some videos on some other things. For example, watches. I'm going to do some watch reviews. I'm going to probably do some everyday carry videos. A lot of those are pretty popular here on YouTube. Basically just any sort of gadget or just techie stuff that we're into, we're going to post there. And again, I'm doing this with my girlfriend, so that's going to be nice to get, you know, a girl's perspective on a lot of that stuff, because that's what a lot of guys are interested in, right? When it comes to picking out a watch, right? You're going to care about whether or not girls are going to like the look of that watch, and that same idea carries over to whatever else we do on the channel. So you're kind of getting two different perspectives there. It's just something that we're going to try to do. So again, go subscribe to that. We're going to try to get the first video out here pretty soon. So again, make sure you subscribe, and that's going to be it, guys. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when I post. That's it, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.